G'day, I'm Kitty of the Hobart Dolls Hospital and you're watching the Hobart Dolls Hospital YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Today I have here a Kathe Kruse doll and I want to try and work out what year she was made. And I have some possible restoration work to do on her. But first I'd like to share with you a story. One of the things I like about the Hobart Dolls Hospital and the work I do here is I love mysteries and I love looking for clues. And sometimes something will come through the Dolls Hospital doors that can be a mystery. You need to look at sometimes and work out when it was made, where it has been, what work has been done on it in the past. A lot of things come through here that have a special story. Some stories come with paperwork that proves the story's correct. Though for most of these toys, it's word of mouth. Now, a lady came here recently with this Kathe Kruse doll. And this doll comes with a very, very special story. This woman's mother lives in Holland, and her mother's next door neighbour was a very, very elderly Jewish lady. One day this lady came to this woman's mother and presented her with this doll. This lady said she had no friends or relatives left that she felt she could leave this doll to, that she knew would appreciate the doll and ensure that the story wasn't lost. The story was that this doll had been in some sort of concentration camp, and the women in the camp had painted wounds onto the doll, onto its limbs, so that the children would care for the doll, would look after the doll, and so be less focused on the atrocities that were happening around them. Now, if this story is true, this makes this doll something very, very special. But the lady who brought it here, she said, this is the story with the doll, but maybe it's not right. What she wanted me to do was to undo some restoration work that had been done to this doll quite a few years ago. Its arms and its legs have been restored, and I think a little bit of work on its face as well. So the areas of the limbs where these wounds were meant to have been painted have been covered with bandages and the bandages painted. And she's asked me whether or not I can look under these bandages and see if those painted on wounds are still there. This is a lovely doll. Kathe Kruse originally started producing dolls in about 1910. And these dolls are still being made to this day, but with modern materials. Now, for me to remove the restoration work that's been done on this doll is going to be a big job. So before I even consider touching any of these areas, I need to ensure that this doll was in fact made at a time when it could have been in a camp. The first thing I look at when I see the doll is the fact it's fairly clean. Now, it may have been cleaned at some point, but you'd expect it to be grottier and a bit dirtier if it had been in a camp. Also, you sort of think, well, how could it have been in a concentration camp? Because they weren't allowed to have anything. Well, apparently in Holland there were transit camps. People would go to these camps and have some belongings with them. They were still very, very bad camps, very bad places to be, but they would then go from these camps to what could only be described as their final destinations. So it is possible that this doll was in one of these early transit camps in Holland. Now to look at whether or not it's the right year. Some of these dolls had stamps on the feet, but these feet have been recovered, and the stamps don't always denote what year. Some of them also had a label. It doesn't have a label. Looking at the hips were made, some were bigger, some were narrower. These hips look like early post-1930s hips. Looking at the mouth is like a 1950s mouth. However, when you look carefully around the mouth, I can see that there has been some restoration work done there. There has been some painting done there. So it is possible that the current shape of these lips are not its original shape. The eyes changed over the decades with the various models. These eyes look like the early eyes, again 1930s, 1940s eyes. The hair is human hair, and the way the wig has been made, it looks like a pre-1940s wig. Now, I've got to be honest with you. I have looked under this wig, and I'll show you what I found. The reason why I looked under this wig is because the doll is made out of material. The head was made out of material, but was then painted. And different models had different numbers of seams at the back of the head. Some had a single seam, some had 3 seams. And by seeing the number of seams that are there, the amount of stitching at the back of the head, that would help you work out what model this doll is and also what year it could have come from. But then, luckily, I removed the wig, or partially removed the wig, just to make sure I was counting the seams in the head properly. And on the back of the head is the date, 17th of August, 1937. So this doll was made at a time when it could have been in a camp. 1937 was a momentous year for Kathe Kruse as well, because that was the year that she actually won an award at the Paris World Expo. So the next step now is to see if I can reverse some of this restoration and see what's underneath. And the second video will be detailing that. This is a very special doll. I'll be going so carefully with what I do, because not only does this doll symbolise sadness and the horrors of war, it also symbolises survival and strength and the will to live. And I'm making sure that this story isn't forgotten. But we'll look under these bandages and see if we can see the remains of those injuries that had been painted onto the doll for the children to care for. Don't forget to subscribe, and you'll see in my next video on this doll what I find under the bandages. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.